Hey there, it's Aaron, and it is February 28th, 2016, and it's a little after 10 a.m., and I thought I'd make a video. Again, as with the last, I don't know how many videos, as with the last few videos or so, really haven't gotten a lot of music, uh, just because I just remembered, I do have one thing. The one thing I do have that I did get was Black Sabbath Master of Reality on vinyl here. Um, this is a reissue from, I think, 2009, 2010, 180 gram. Really good remaster. So, but I'm not here to talk about Black Sabbath. Come March of this year, it'll be 50 years since the Mamas and the Papas released their first album. So I thought I would sit down and talk about the Mamas and the Papas because they are one of my favorite groups and one of the first groups I got into after the Beatles. I do have all their albums, but not on CD. I do, however, have them all on vinyl here, so I'm going to be talking about them all here with the vinyl. And yeah. Now, I got into the Mamas and the Papas around, it would be 2001. Now I got into the Beatles. I always pinpoint when I got into classic rock and so forth. Uh, Sometime in the fall of 2000 when the Beatles 1 came out. And I think even before the Beatles 1 came out, I was already getting into the Beatles. And where it came to the point that my family were sort of tired of hearing about the Beatles. So they encouraged me and said, you know, there are other groups out there. And at that time, one of my parents had, I think it may have been my dad, it could have been my mom, I think it was my dad. He had gotten the series, one of the albums in the series, the 20th Century Masters collection. Like it would have like a silvery color on the top, 20th Century Masters, and he bought the one with their entry of the Moms and the Papas. So parents sort of started me there in terms of getting into another group, and I did get into them. I thought they were great. It took me a while to get an actual album of theirs. It's not too hard to get their music. The simple way to get, the easiest way to get their music is to get the compilation All the Leaves Are Brown. Now, I'm not, on average, I'm not a guy who gets compilations. But this one, All the Leaves Are Brown, is good with me because I've shown on this channel before. I love budget sets. I love when they give you all the albums by one artist and they put them on one per disc and they sell them for 20 bucks, or they put, you know, two albums on one disc and then, you know, bundle it up, you know what I'm talking about. Well, they did that with All the Leaves Are Brown, and yeah, so that has their first four albums on two discs. The first two being on one disc, and the first, I think, like the first two or three songs from their third album on finishing the first disc, and then everything else on the second. So since 2006, I always stayed at my summer camp for two sessions, and I always got $10. As I've mentioned, I think I've mentioned before on my channel that for the longest time, my grandparents gave me $10 allowance for iTunes each month. So I wasn't going to be there until July. So when it would come time to go to camp, I would think, okay, well, I got $20 to spend. So I used it on the All the Leaves Are Brown set, and because I thought I should have them all in the pop albums now. And before then, I already had them all in vinyl. So I mean, I could have transferred them with my first USB turntable, but I decided nah, I want them. I'll just get that set. I'll be happy. Come March, the album that is turning 50 is this one, You Can Believe Your Eyes and Ears. Great title for an album. Because once you put this record on and you hear those wonderful harmonies, it's coming from these people that are just hanging out in the bathtub, if you can believe your eyes and ears. Those voices are coming from these four people. Great title. One thing worth mentioning is that, yeah, this isn't. I think I got this for $1 like probably a little over 10 years ago. This is an okay copy of this album. The one thing noting, the one thing noting about this album is that there is a little bit of controversy with the album cover. Now, why would controversy and the Mamas and the Papas go together? For the silliest reasons. If you notice on here, they're in a bathroom, right? And what does every bathroom have? A toilet. The toilet's censored, saying includes California Dreamin', Monday Monday, and I Call Your Name. If you have a copy of this album with the toilet uncensored, you got a collector's item. I don't. So, it doesn't really matter to me. Of all their albums, this is my favorite of the bunch, and I think a bunch of people would agree that this is their best. Just song after song, it's an amazing, amazing album. Great songs, just very consistent throughout. And in terms of the members, well, you got John Phillips, Cass Elliot, Denny Doherty, and Michelle Phillips, who was the wife of John Phillips. Now, as to how they got together, well, that's in a song called Creek Alley, but more about that later. Simply, John Phillips was in a group called the Journeymen, and they split. And then he met Michelle, and two of them started dating, and eventually got married, and they knew somebody, a folk singer by the name of Denny Doherty. And John really liked his voice, and he was in a group called the Mugwumps with a woman named Cass Elliot. Now, the Mugwumps were done, and then he joined the group, so they were a three-piece band now called the New Journeymen. And they played here and there, and usually when they would be touring, they would always meet Denny's friend Cass. John didn't want Cass in the group, because vocally, she wouldn't fit in with the group. And he kept claiming that she needed to hit that high note. And whether you want to believe it or not, according to John Phillips and according to Cass Elliot, this did happen. One of the restaurants or clubs or wherever they were playing at, Cass got a job working there as a waitress, and there was construction work being done there. Now, as the story is told, a pipe hit Cass on the head. She had to go to the hospital, and after that, she could hit the high notes. The story of them, as to how they got their name, is kind of interesting. I think they were watching TV, all four of them, and there was some news report, I think about Hell's Angels. And then I think the news reporter was asking one of the guys in Hell's Angels, well, what do your girlfriends, think of this, or something like, to the extent of that. And the guy just replied, these are not our girlfriends or wives, these are our mamas. So Cass and Michelle were going, oh, we want to be mamas. So John and Denny thought, okay, well, I guess we're papas. So that's how they got their name, the Mamas and the Papas. But aside from that, I mean, this is a great album. Great, great album. Going through the songs here, you got Monday Monday, which was a big hit for them. Straight Shooter, a good rock and roller. Got a Feeling, supposedly about, even though it credits Denny and John having written the song, John claims that he was writing it about the affair Denny and Michelle were having, or there's some sort of love connection going on between the two, or he was picking up on. So it makes sense because the first lyrics are, "I got a feeling that I'm wasting time on you." So it's a good song. "I Call Your Name," which was sung by the Beatles. Pretty obscure song by the Beatles. It was released as a single, and I look, I love the Beatles, love them, but I'm more familiar with "I Call Your Name" coming from them, not the Beatles. "Do You Want to Dance?" "Go Where You Want to Go," one of their best songs there. "California Dreamin'," probably their most popular song. "Spanish Harlem," good. "Somebody Groovy," a little bit of filler. "Hey Girl," "You Baby." Yeah, like the last couple of songs are a little bit filler, although I do enjoy the In Crowd. So yeah, my favorite album of theirs. Great album. Now, later in 1966, they released another album, simply self-titled, just called The Mamas and the Papas, or people like to call it Cass, Johnny, Michelle, and Denny. I think people call it The Mamas and the Papas. It's their sophomore album, all right? It's a self-titled album. I consider it a self-titled album, but they also put it under the title John, or Cass, John, Michelle, and Denny. And Denny's name is not spelled correctly here. They put an IE when it should be a Y. Now, in between the time of the first album and this one, there was already some trouble brewing in the Mamas and the Papas camp, so to speak. As mentioned before, John was taking notice of the relationship between Denny and Michelle and that it was becoming more of an affair. And that John and Michelle just really weren't getting along, or he was just yelling at her every night, or I don't know what the case was, but whatever happened, he managed to get a to get Denny and Cass to agree to writing a letter, all professional with a letterhead, and just saying, "Dear Michelle, it is of now that you are no longer a member of the Mamas and the Papas," and it had all their signatures on it. You could probably find the picture online because Michelle kept it. So she was out of the group. They got a person named Jill Gibson, who was in a group, part of a group called Jan and Dean. I don't know if I have that right. I put an annotation somewhere. And I think she was also the girlfriend of producer Lou Adler. So they had her in the group, and they played a few gigs with her, I think, throughout the summer of '66. And when they would be playing shows and singing, they would all call themselves or give themselves the title Mama or Papa. So I mean, Mama Cass obviously is the most popular of them, but they would be introducing. Well, we have a new member here, and her name is Mama Jill, and there would be guys in the audience going, "Where's Michelle?" So, it just didn't work out with Jill. I don't know what happened. I just guess the original dynamic of the four of them with Michelle worked better. So they brought Michelle back into the group and they made this album. Now it's argued as to who's really on the album. Is it Jill, Michelle, or both of them? They claim to be on different songs, or I think all five of them are on the album, to be honest. But the second album is pretty good. So this album is pretty good. Not as good as the first one, but a good album nevertheless. You got No Salt on Her Tail, which is a good opener. Ray Manzarek of the Doors plays keyboards on that one. Trip, Stumble, and Falls, good. Love Dancing Bear. I think that Danny Doherty has went to say that that's his favorite song that the Mamas and the Papas did. Words of Love, great song. My Heart Stood Still by Rodgers and Hart. Their cover of Dancing in the Streets, good fun. I Saw Her Again. According to John, his idea was to punish Denny and Michelle for their affair by writing a song about the affair. So he wrote I Saw Her Again. And the song obviously became a hit. So with it being a hit, they had to play it every night. And John thought, that's what you get. So, great song, though. It's a great song. The second part of the album and the rest of the second side sort of, these are songs you want to find in a compilation of any sort, or greatest hits. But I know, Strange Young Girls. I Can't Wait. It's not a bad second album here. Pretty good album.